Herald-Times sports editor Chris Korman here in the Spaceship Assembly Hall.
It really looks like the Millennium Falcon. It really looks like Han Solo and Chewbacca should be in here.
Except it's ginormous.
It is ginormous. It's really huge.
I think it looks like something out of Flight of the Navigator.
That too.
Do you remember that movie?
Oh yeah, watched that movie like 7 billion times.
You know, I've been waiting most of my life to drop that reference.
And you finally did. Congratulations.
I don't know what goal should I have now.
I'm glad I was a part of it, actually.
I mean, what's next now?
There's nothing else.
We'll brainstorm on a devastating loss for Indiana tonight.
Yeah.
With Dimitri McCamey hitting a last nanosecond teardrop shot after splitting through at least 3 guys coming off a well set screen. It was a nicely designed play with less than 5 seconds left. A little bit of both. Weber called the timeout with 4.4, which we thought was a little odd because it appeared that they were already running a play that they wanted. And
it seemed like the point was, okay, give McCamey the ball at the top of the key and wait until he feels like driving. And they just decided not to do that.
Bruce Weber, one of the most hated men in Indiana.
Indiana, at least.
And in clubs that celebrate good voices.
Yes. Yeah.
And also do not like him. Drew up a good play and found a way to get McCamey the ball. Crean said after the game that they were not going to shade to McCamey. They were not going to double him. They were not going to deny him.
They were not going to try to
They were too worried about other players. I think most people would say that McCamey was probably going to get that ball.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess the point he makes there is that if you double him too hard, he's going to find somebody.
Right.
I mean, just one of the key plays where that did happen. I can't remember exactly what the score was, but he drove and everybody collapsed on him. He found Bill Cole wide open on the right wing for a 3. So I mean, it could have like as Crean said, it's not a it's not a point where you need a 3. It's a best shot game, and if you leave somebody wide open, McCamey can find him. So and most of those guys can hit shots. So I see where he was coming from with that at least.
Did you see that product placement?
Yeah. Can we get sued for that?
Coke. I don't know. I just have a sore throat, so.
Right. Okay. Anyway.
I just want to drink something. Jeremiah Rivers, I thought, was the guy, and Crean, too, I think. Crean walked from one end of the court all the way to the other as soon as the buzzer went off to, comfort Jeremiah Rivers. Because Rivers he was fouled with the score, with Indiana down 2. And the 50% free throw shooter who repeatedly makes 1 out of 2 free throws.
Right, exactly.
Hits both. I mean, swishes both, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no doubt.
They were perfect.
They were right on line and does that. And then I think he may have been a little upset. I don't know. I can't totally recall how the defense set up, but I think Rivers,
he was not on McCamey.
Right, and I think he probably wanted to be. And he was very fiery throughout the game. At Illinois, we sit right behind the bench, and we hear much more than we ever hear at Assembly Hall, much more than we hear almost anywhere else. Probably too much, frankly.
That's true.
In a lot of ways, we really get the courtside experience of what's going on. And Rivers was feisty today and really was the guy challenging his teammates, or at least pointing out
things that were going on.
Right. This isn't working, or this guy's not sliding over here, or he's really invested in it. I think people have maybe questioned him on that before. He's sort of a jovial kid and a nonchalant kid in some ways.
I think what happens, why there's that, I don't know if it's a misconception. When he's on the floor, you don't see it. You see it more on the bench, and you see it, and apparently from talking to everybody, it happens more in practice and stuff like that. It doesn't seem like during the game.
The leadership, you mean?
It just, maybe he's just too honed in on actually playing it, but when he's on the floor, you don't see him yell at anybody, or, maybe it probably happens in huddles, but it's just like you don't see his lips move.
Right.
While he's out on the floor, and he might just be too honed in. But when he's out, like you said, when he's on the bench, I mean, he's yelling instructions. He's telling Crean things. He's telling the coaching staff things, that they're doing this or doing that. He does a lot of that, but I guess that's why people question it. Is you don't see the same thing happen out on the floor.
Yeah.
Anyway, but monster free throws, gigantic and
big. And this is another unequivocal step forward for Indiana.
It is.
You can step back; it's going to hurt. I think Capobianco said that as I talked to him. Somebody asked him about, does this build confidence? And he said, well, not right now, but maybe in a few days. It's going to hurt, but no question, it's a huge step forward for the team to come in. This arena is not easy to play in. There has been a rivalry between these schools. These kids still remember the Eric Gordon situation. McCamey has been sort of a one of the antagonists in that whole thing. He's just killed Indiana time after time. It was a tough atmosphere, and they came in and really battled. No doubt that's a step forward. And then a couple guys I thought really played well. Hulls came off the bench and was just
carried them. He was the only reason they were in the game in the first half.
Right.
Until
that late run.
Until Verdell sort of said, okay, I'm gonna get this going now. I mean, it seemed like it took a while for him to get comfortable. He also said that Hulls hitting those threes was big for him because he was getting doubled on every drive. He had no place to go, and all of a sudden,
I don't think Illinois knew that Hulls could do that, and
probably not.
And, he hadn't seen it a lot in film, so
yeah. So I mean, that Hulls hitting those threes, one, kept him in the game because he was the only one scoring. I think he had 11 of the first 18, and then two, just allowed Jones to start get going. I think it took a minute for him to sort of get his bearings too, because he's got 40-some people here. Because he's a Champaign
he's
native.
Back at home. He wants to show off a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever happened with Illinois, he says that he never wanted to go, but I don't know how much interest there was from either side. So there
wasn't. Weber said he had a ton of guards at that point. Right. And he wasn't really going after him because it wasn't going to be good for either side.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, but once he got going, he obviously kind of kept him in, and Devin Dumas knocks down a half-court shot at halftime, and Indiana goes and jacked up and literally played. It was not necessarily bucket for bucket, but I mean, Indiana had a lead for most of it. It was really nip and tuck the entire.
And this Illinois team, the Illinois players they brought in were joking about it. We almost like to be down because we know at some point we're going to come down, and they have. They've been down.
Yeah, they've been down. What were they down to Gonzaga? What were they down to Minnesota?
Yeah,
I mean, they were down a bunch. But
Northwestern. I mean, they've had to come back against everybody. It just seems to be.
Yeah, but they don't always win those.
A comfort zone for them
to some degree. Yeah.
But I think another guy, Bobby Capobianco, Green did start, by the way, to follow up on your preview for this game. He did go 3-forward lineup. It disappeared pretty quickly. Yeah. Hard to tell whether that was because of how it was working or because Tom Pritchard, I think, literally had 3 fouls in 3 minutes in the first half.
It was pretty quick.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, 3 minutes of playing time, he picked up 3 fouls. He sat after 2 and then came
back
for another.
And got his third.
So, obviously, if you don't have him, it's going to limit how much you can really do because they have Watford and Elston who can really play the 3, but then otherwise they got...
Yeah. Well, you have to have Watford and Elston at the same time there, and I think there was some other things to it. I know Kareem was obviously calling out Watford for not being tough enough early. Right. Watford ends up 1 for 10 from the field. He had a tough game. So if you don't have an effective Watford, the 3-forward lineup is more or less out the window.
Right.
But I think it worked some other ways. I think even psychologically for the guards.
Yeah. Oh, for the guards?
For saying that, okay, we have to change this lineup because you guys aren't rebounding.
Right. Indiana did win the rebounding battle.
They did 35-31. I mean, Jordan Hulls, I mean, obviously, he's not necessarily the guy that you're going to yell at for not getting rebounds because he's supposedly 6 feet tall. And
he is.
But he was okay. 6 feet. But he was scrapping. I mean, he absolutely was all over the place.
Sure.
In the first half, and they guard rebounded better. I mean, they didn't have a great day, but I mean, everybody chipped in a couple a day. There wasn't anybody that had a huge rebounding day, but everybody was sort of getting after it on the glass. And I think psychologically that did some things. I mean, changed the rotation a little bit. Got Derek Elston early minutes. He seemed like he struggled out of the gate.
Tijon and Bawa too.
Later. Yeah, Bawa played significant minutes. Tijon, a lot of people were busting on him, I guess, during the chat and whatnot. But for what Tijon's supposed to do, what he's actually asked to do, I mean, he pretty much, I thought he did it. Right. I mean, his whole point is play help defense, get over to guys, freak them out by the fact that there's this 7'1" guy who has little control over where he's going coming at you, and that it freaks people out. They're like, I don't know what to do now. I think I have to pass. It happens. Don't laugh. It's true.
Okay, there it is. But both those guys, and I think a lot of fans, that's a question we get. Why don't those guys at least get some time? Because it does. It changes up the look.
Yeah.
The other team has to react. Obviously, a few times Tisdale took advantage of Tijon once. They brought in Bawa, and Indiana brought in Bawa, and as soon as they did that, Illinois coaches were calling to set ball screens to try to get Bawa moving. And so, it's clear that other teams are going to exploit it, but sort of just seemed right to see those guys get some time, Capobianco and Elston, and just have some faith put in them. It takes longer for big guys. There's just no question. A bigger guy, it just takes longer for them to adjust. And also a smaller guy, which I think is a little bit with Hulls. I think he's been somewhat adjusted for a while and feeling pretty comfortable, but it's just... He's going to have to learn to do different things just because of his size.
Because they're going to adjust to the things that he can do, and he's got to figure out another option.
Right. All right, well, that's about all the time we have. This spaceship is leaving.
That was a good one.
Actually, Dustin is staying here.
Thanks for
He's meeting some people. We'll get a report on that hopefully later. Find out how that goes. I'm not really.
I'm staying vague.
You're staying vague. I haven't even gotten a pre-briefing yet. So.
No, you're not going to.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
All right.
Enjoy your weekend. You know Dustin will. See you guys.